Hello. In talking about the narcissist talking about you behind your back, that's something that if you're new to this, you may not understand or realize that's coming. The narcissist smearing you behind your back. They call it a smearing campaign. In the industry, it actually has a name because it's part of the cycle. And now you might say, but Renee, honestly, there's nothing I did wrong. There's nothing he could say about me. That's my story too. They make stuff up. They will make stuff up. And I'm going to tell you why. They have to smear you. There's no doubt about it. They have to do it. They must. They are compelled. They absolutely have to soil your reputation. That's not their motivation. I didn't mean to say that. They're not doing it to soil your reputation, but they do have to speak ill about you to come up with reasons as to why they left you. So that would be the first smear too. You might have left them. They're going to lie and say they left you. Oh my God, yeah. The narcissist probably will never admit, no, I came back from a weekend in Boca and my stuff was in trash bags on the front doorstep. I doubt that's the story, any new supply of my narcissist got. Of course not. So they're going to lie about the discard. If it is not in their favor that they left you, they're going to lie. And then once they're going to come up with stuff that you did wrong, that you didn't do, that you said, a horrible way that you were, your temperament, your sleeping patterns, your idiosyncratic behavioral tics drove them nuts. They'll come up with all kinds of stuff. And they'll not only tell it to new supply or people they're trying to woo, which in a narcissist's relationship beginning stages, there's always talk about the ex. That's not a habit I try to get into, by the way. I think it's weird. Like, I don't need to be, I'm just meeting you. You need to hear about my exes? Like, it's no secrets, but I mean, like, that's what we're going to talk about. But they do that. And then you'll hear they'll make up a story, what happened with their ex. Why? They're so forthcoming with a story about their ex, like no one I've ever known in my life. You told me everything. I didn't need to know any of that. Okay, sorry for you, man. Sorry for her. None of it's true, by the way. They will come up with horrible, horrible things because they have to come up with a reason they misbehaved to get them to be discarded. If they are maybe honest with you and said, because they'll use that in their favor with you too. She caught me cheating, so she threw me out. Why were you cheating? No, I just wasn't into her anymore. Not like I'm into you. They'll use that. So they will use that if they can. But then they'll come up with all kinds of reasons why they weren't into her. All lies. Probably a bunch of malarkey. Just to smear her behind the back so that the narcissist can have a reason that things went south. It can't be them. It can't be their fault. It can't be anything that they've done. They won't take responsibility. Even saying, in my little example, if somebody were to say, well, I cheated on her, but she wasn't even talking to me for 6 months, or whatever he says bad about her, or she was never attentive to me, or he comes up with reasons. That's smearing her. You made the choice to cheat. That was your choice. You didn't sit your wife down or your girlfriend and say, I'm feeling, neglected. Here's going forth what I think is going to happen unless we rectify the situation. Right? Say something. You made the choice to sleep with somebody. So then they come up with all these ugly things to say about exes. They come up, and it's not just narcissists. Not just partners. I have an ex-narcissist in my life who talked about me to anybody that would listen. Anybody that would listen. A lot. For years and years and years. What are you going to do? We already talked about what that is, right? And many people would say to me, well, that's envy. You know, they're jealous. And I would say, no, why? We're totally different people. There's nothing to be jealous. I've learned to realize something about it. There's an envy there. To hate someone that much, to talk about people behind their backs, that's pretty much the lowest thing you could do. And that's what smearing is, isn't it? And my mother always said, if someone's talking about you, talking to you about somebody else, they're talking to somebody else about you. Like, you're either the kind of person who talks bad about people or you're not. And even though the smearing campaign is part of their cycle, and it's all manufactured, and it's all lies, generally much of, or exaggerated. They'll take one thing that the person does and they'll make it this huge bad thing, and that's why they're gone now from that person. But in listing all of that, you have to remember, they're saying these horrible things to anyone that will listen to make themselves not sound so bad, and they are knowing that you have no recourse to correct that because they're cornering people against you, and they're garnering support into their corner against you. Smearing can go that far. Talking about people behind their back. Which, again, that was my point, by the way. I think I lost my ground. But what I was going to say was, regardless of whether or not they're lies or they're making it up or whatever, or they're exaggerating, they're the type of person to talk badly behind someone's back. And that's a quality I can't stand. It doesn't matter that there's a breakup. It doesn't matter. I don't care. That's a quality I can't stand in a person, that they would talk badly about somebody's back. I don't care that you're exes. I don't have an ill word to say about my ex-husband. I've told you before, stellar guy. I've said I was married once. I married the right guy. He's an upstanding person. I don't think that just because you break up with people, like trashing them can come along with it as a free pass, that's not considered talking about somebody behind their back. It is. And I only pay a fraction of mind when people do that to their ex-spouses or exes anyway, because they're not here, right? You got three sides, yours, and the truth. You got his, hers, hers, the truth. There's three sides, right? In my case, I got my side, his side, and the truth. My side equals up with the truth. His side is some made-up version, I'm sure. But when they're talking about you, the reason that they're going to do it and they have to do it and they must do it is they have to establish that it was not their fault. That has to be taken out of the picture for them to survive. They can't be responsible. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm adorable, you might say. Like, I think of that. There's nothing wrong with me. I didn't do anything wrong. But I'm sure he came up with stuff that, you know what I mean? I know I'm a good person. I know I was good to him. I'm sure he came up with stuff that whatever, horrible things. That's what they do. He can't just say, well, she did nothing wrong. She was, perfectly adorable. Everything was great. But I cheated because I always cheat. He'll come up with a reason to accompany, even if they fess up to their bad behavior, which they will, to lure you in. I cheated on everybody in my life. Never, ever before have I been loyal. You're the first person I've ever been loyal to. Sounds like a compliment, doesn't it? But inherent in that sentence, he gave himself away. I didn't listen. Inherent in the fact that he would talk badly about all these other people. I didn't listen. I didn't listen to what he was saying, knowing. I knew as much not to do that. So I wasn't listening and making a decision that he was correct about these people. In fact, I would challenge him and I would say, she seems perfectly lovely to me. Like, I don't dig that as a person doing it anyway. But I didn't catch that it was a narcissistic pattern that they do to everybody. Well, now I'm one of the everybody. I'm an ex. You are now an ex. They smear everybody. Think about stories he's told you or she has told you of exes. horrible things they have to say. Same thing. So now you are the person who they're saying that about. And you know, mine must really have fun with it. Because, first of all, I don't think that anyone in his life even knows me. So my name would come up as just like, oh, what'd you do during Corona? Oh, I had this girlfriend, Renee. You know, that's how it would come up maybe, or something. What was she like? It would really be an abstract thought at this point. But I can't imagine what he comes up with. And, like, nobody catches on. I mean, his stats are deplorable. He's 63 years old. He's been doing this his whole life. So that means that that person, that kind of person, will die alone. Or with somebody next to them who they are posing as their partner right now, or convincing themselves as their partner, or convincing them as their partner. But they will always have that upheaval thing inside of them. Angry, talking about other people behind their back. I can't stand that quality in a person. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Because the person's not there to defend themselves. If what you say behind the back of a person, if you would say that to the person, and you have said it to the person, and you've given them a chance to say their side, that's different. But you're taking somebody as an audience, and you're telling them something about somebody else, and they don't have a chance to defend themselves. That is the lowest form, in my opinion, of a human thing that you could do. Like, that's just... No. 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 And you know, they'll make excuses. So that's where talking bad about you comes in. They have to have excuses. They have to have reasons things didn't work out. I mean, they're not going to say, yeah, I stepped out for no reason. It was perfectly a happy home. Unless, like I said, they turn it into something and say, but with you, I won't. Because even if they do that, you're going to believe them. They've expressed to you the caliber of person they are. Is the person who talks badly behind somebody's back. You spent time with a person. You did. You spent time with a person. I've been divorced. It'll be almost 16 years now. I have ex-boyfriends and whatever. I don't sit around and shred them and talk bad. It didn't work out. You move on. You don't talk bad about them to other people. Why? That's not a nice thing to do. It's not a normal thing to do. Don't just, and they just make it like it's normal because it's a breakup and that's what you do in a breakup. No, it isn't. You don't have to smear somebody behind their back because you broke up with them. That is a choice they make. That shows the caliber of their character. And you know, we spoke of this before. I call it Incident Zero. I wrote an article about it called Incident Zero. They'll say, well, you did this and you did that. No. Why did I do this or that? What did you do first? Incident zero. What started it? They don't say why. You made me feel. It'll be some kind of circular conversation that doesn't make any point or have any meat to it. Or is that word salad, they do it. They won't tell you why. But they'll try to speak of things that you did and how they're upset. Well, you said this to me on Friday. Okay, well, what did you do on Wednesday? I want to talk about Incident Zero. You know, they don't say Incident Zero when they're talking about you to the new supply. They keep Incident Zero to themselves. And they might tell new supply, you know, incident 21 and 28 when you lost your temper, and they're going to exaggerate it, and it may be full of lies. But they'll skip over anything bad that they did. That goes with the smearing, because the smearing is so that you take full blame, full responsibility for everything that happened. And it can cause a lot of trouble when there's children involved. I know many of you have dealt with that, and there's custody issues, and one parent is smearing the other, and that is, I have 8 hours on that topic. Don't even get me started. amicable, congenial, award-winning divorce here. Like, we have done it right. And all we ever did was get along. I'm sorry. That is not acceptable. And that's about smearing and talking bad about each other. I want you to look out for it because it does happen. I want you to be aware of it because they'll act to you like they love you, like they're hoovering you, like you mean the world to them. And if they have a new supply that they're also courting, they're talking bad about you to the new supply. Just like they talk bad about the new supply to you. They tell you bad things about, oh, she didn't mean anything, she's ugly, I didn't mean anything. They do that. It's part of their fiber of their being, which should be a red flag for our intuition, right? Everything comes full circle. To say, ooh, that's not a good quality in a person. And oftentimes it is on the first date. They start talking badly about their ex, or a business partner story, or a family story, or how their cousin wrongs them, or how, whatever. It's all, and if you listen and they're that kind of person, that's a quality in a person that I don't want. I think of my grandfather. Every family has their saint. Ours is my grandfather. He's no longer with us. He would never, ever, ever, ever sit there and just badmouth people behind their backs. I think of the behavior on my grandfather. I can't even picture it. Why? Man of integrity. He doesn't operate that way. Ever. They operate that way. You got to pay attention to that as far as their personality. That's a terrible quality in a person. I don't want anything to do with somebody like that. So if they're out in the world doing that to you, I know it's hard. I know it can be hurtful. I know it can be painful. I know it can be inconvenient. And then they're gathering, that's what they call them when they gather people against you. Those are called flying monkeys. So you have the flying monkeys, you have the smearing. It's very hurtful. What's absolutely necessary is for you to try to rise above the fray and consider the source of that. Has nothing to do with you. It's their personality that's defunct in that way that they would do that. So don't internalize it. Try not to internalize it. And you might say, well, they're saying such hurtful things. I understand. Attribute it to the person who's saying it. That's what you have to do. Don't internalize it that it's about you. Well, he did say something that was true. Okay, so he took some truth and he twisted it because he knew it would hurt you. That's part of it. It can be a very tenuous situation while this is happening, and I'm sorry if you're going through it. I really, really am. Just try to remain above that fray and remind yourself how worthy you are. You know your own truth. You know how you behaved. You know if what he's saying is malarkey. Okay? It's a tough one, though. I know this period's tough, and we're all with you. Reach out if you need help.